Hey friends, it's Kurt from Transformative Journeys. Today I want to talk a little bit about a concept, for lack of a better term, I'll call it sacred ground. Sacred ground, a little bit different from sacred space. We can talk about that in another video. But sacred ground, ground that has meaning. That's actually my brief explanation for what the term sacred ground means. It is ground that has meaning. It is a place that has meaning. That meaning can come from society. It can come from the greater society. It can come from the nation. It can come from the religion. An example of national sacred ground here in the U.S., well, clearly the Gettysburg Battlefield or Arlington National Cemetery. Those are sacred ground where the meaning comes from the nation. We could talk about religious sacred ground. Obviously, Jerusalem for a lot of people is sacred ground. Mecca is sacred ground. Rome can be sacred ground. There are types of sacred ground that are purely, I'll call them tribal. I'll call them that you belong to a group of people who find significance in a particular place. For people like me, who are avid motorcyclists, this week there is a big celebration for people like me, a ground that we find sacred, that I've had the privilege to visit, the Isle of Man. So this is race week on the Isle of Man. In fact, I think today was the first sidecar race and the Superstock 1000 race. That's sacred ground. People go there because it has meaning. It has meaning of all the people who've gone there, all the great accomplishments there, the lives that have been lost there. All those things imbue a sacred character to the area, which means it has meaning for the people who visit. And then there's a sacred ground that is personal, that is deeply personal, that has to do with something big that happened in your life. It can be a place where you proposed or were proposed to. It can be where you went to university. It can be the street you grew up on as a child. It can be a place that your family used to go to have picnics or camping trips or any variety of things. But because it has meaning in your life, it is sacred ground. Now, why am I talking about sacred ground? Why is that important? Because lots of people over the ages, over the eons, have gone to revisit sacred ground. Sometimes we call it pilgrimage. Pilgrimage where you go to sacred ground to reconnect with that meaning, to pull that meaning into your heart, to connect with it, and to be part of the place, to make the place part of you and you part of the place. This is a good use of your time. This is actually a good place to visit. Now, in 2019, I had the privilege of going to one of the religious sacred ground locations. I visited the island of Iona off the west coast of Scotland. That is a traditional pilgrimage site. Some people walk the Camino de Santiago in the north of Spain to connect with sacred ground. Some people here in America, some people tour minor league ballparks as a way to connect and visit sacred ground and bring that meaning into their lives. This is a worthy thing to do for a transformative journey. And the things that help make it special is to know why you're going, to think about, why am I going to this spot? What is the meaning for me? To journal about that, to write about that, and then to pay attention. This is key. Pay attention as you make the trip, not just while you're at the place, but all the way to the place. Pay attention to what happens. And on the way back, pay attention to that and continue writing in your journal about it. This will connect you much more deeply. You will be surprised by the things that come up for you, by the things that happen, by the people you meet, and how meaningful those meetings can be. In Scotland, I had a phenomenal meeting with some people who actually initiated me into a Scottish clan. They were on their own pilgrimage. I was on one pilgrimage. They were on another pilgrimage. Our paths crossed. We discussed what we were doing. We talked about our meanings. We talked about why it was important for us to go on that. And in that, we found this incredibly deep connection. People I had never seen before. And yet we felt incredibly close in that time. So close that they felt it was worth initiating me into their clan to commemorate that closeness and make it permanent. So, sacred ground, it's ground that has meaning. Meaning in our culture, meaning in the world, meaning in our religion, meaning in our tribe, meaning in our family, meaning that's purely personal. Connect with that meaning. You'll find great depth there. Write about it. Meditate about it. It will be worth your time, I promise. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.